Assalamualaikum. This is our presentation for the subject of ENV543 for industrial hygiene, which is the presentation of palm oil plantation poisoning case investigation. So, this presentation will include the followings. So, we will introduce the general palm oil plantation in Malaysia, the occupational hazards in palm oil plantation, and then the analysis, which is the hierarchy analysis, which involve hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk control, and then conclusion of this case investigation. So for the introduction, in 2020, Malaysia accounted for 25.8% and 34.3% of the world's palm oil production export, respectively. Considering other oils and fat produced in the country, Malaysia accounted for 9.1% and 19.7% of the world's total production and export of oils and fats in the same year. The refining of crude palm oil which commenced in the early 70s in response to the government call for increased industrialization. The emergence of refineries marked the introduction of a wide range of processed palm oil products. The Malaysian palm oil industry is highly regulated. Currently, the industry adheres to more than 15 laws and regulations, including the Land Acquisition Act 1960, Environmental Quality Act 1974, Environmental Quality Clean Air Regulation Health Act Clean Air Regulation 1978, Pesticide Act 1974, Occupational Safety and Health Act 1977, and Protection of Wildlife Act 1972. The industry is also complying with Hazard and Critical Control Point (HACCP) and the Environmental Impact Assessment (EIA) requirements. Being sensitive and proactive on current environment concern, the industry is actively pursuing ISO 14000 standard series discussion and formulation, notably on climate change, life cycle analysis, eco-labeling, and design for the environment. It is important to note that the industry is also participating in the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil discussion. This roundtable is a platform to reach a mutual understanding at the international level among various palm oil stockholders, namely oil palm growers, palm oil processors, consumer goods manufacturers, retailers, investment organizations, social or development NGOs, and environmental or natural conservation NGOs. This understanding would be translated into common actions towards achieving sustainability of palm oil production and use in its entire supply chain. So, in palm oil plantation, there are few occupational hazards that need to be identified. Such occupational hazards are musculoskeletal disorders, for an example, muscle strains, low back injuries, and bone fractures. And then we have infectious diseases such as onchocerciasis, helminthiasis, and asymptomatic malaria parasitemia. And then there also are stress and mental health disorders such as stress, depression, anxiety, and lack of sleep due to worry. Then last one will be pesticide herbicide exposure, which can cause low semen quality, skin problems, nosebleed, and nail problems.
High-rate analysis. Hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk control. High-rate in palm oil plantation. High-rate are principles utilized in the workplace to properly manage the safety and health. First is hazard identification, the process used to evaluate if any situation that may have potential to cause harm. Second is risk assessment, process to identify and analyzing the potential event that may negatively impact individual, asset, or environment. The third is risk control, the process of managing risk to reduce of impact. Hazard identification. Hazard identification first is preparing pesticide and injection equipment. For example, the hazard is slip and fall, chemical spillage, and exposure. The effect is a minor severe injury, cut, wound, bruise, bone fracture, headache and vomiting, headache and vomiting. Existing control is not available. For the second is transporting pesticide from the preparation place to farm. The hazard is slip, fall, chemical spillage. The effect is the minor severe injury, cut, wound, bruise, bone fracture, headache, and vomiting. The existing control is not available. Third is drilling palm tree trunk with the motorized driller. The hazard is noise, sharp object. The effect is temporary hearing loss, stress, poor concentration, and minor severe injury, cut or wound. Existing control is not available. For number 4 is injecting pesticide to the palm tree trunk. The hazard is chemical spillage, and the effect is headache and vomiting, and existing control is not available. And the number 5 is sealing at the hole with the soil. The hazard is the very toxic chemical exposure. The effect is headache and vomiting. As this control is not available. And number 6 is moving from the one tree to another tree. The hazard is split and fall. The effect the minor or severe injury, cut and wound and bruises. As this control is still not available. Number 2 is risk assessment. Risk assessment likelihood table is divided into 5 categories. The first is most likely. The most likely result of the hazard being realized is 5. The possible it have a good chance of occurring and not unusual is 4. Conceivable may occur sometime in future is 3. Remote it have not been known to occur after many years 2. Inconceivable is practically impossible and have never occurred is 1. Risk assessment severity table is also divided to by 5 categories. The catastrophic anomaly fatality, irrecoverable property damage and productive is 5. The second is fatal. Approximately one single fatality major property damage it is realized is 4. The serious non-fatal but serious injury is 3. Minor disabled but not permanently injury is 2. Negligible is minor abrasion, bruises, cut, first aid type injury is 1. Okay. Third, reassessment risk matrix table. It also divide into 5, like a livelihood table. Most likely, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. The possible is 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. The conceivable is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And remote 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And inconceivable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh, the high is 50 until 25. The medium is 5 until 12. And the low is green. The 1 until 4. The source is from the Dodge guideline for HIREC 2008. Risk assessment, risk value table is divided into six. The first one is preparation force injection equipment. The likelihood is 5, severity is 3, and risk is 15, the height. And second is transporting force from the preparation place to farm. The likelihood is 4, severity 3, and risk is 12. Number 3 is drilling process using the motorized driller. Likelihood 3, severity 2, and risk 6. Number 4 is trunk injection force. Likelihood 5, severity 3, and median risk is 15. The number 5 is seal the hole with salt. The likelihood 4, the severity is 3, and the risk is 12. So the lastly is 6, moving from the one tree to another tree. The likelihood is 1, the severity is 1, and the risk is 1. And last, risk control table. The risk is 50 until 25 is high. A high risk require immediate action to control the hazard as detailed in the hierarchy of control. Action must be taken to documented on the risk assessment from including date for completion. The second is 5 until 12 is a medium. The medium risk require a planned approach to controlling the hazard and apply temporary measure if required. The action taken must be documented on the risk assessment from including the date of completion. The third is 1 until 4 is the low risk. A risk identified as low may be considered as acceptable and further reduction may not necessary. However, if a risk can be resolved quickly and efficiently, control measures should be implemented and recorded.
Risk control. Risk control table for activity preparing pesticide and injection equipment. For elimination and substitution are not available. For engineering control is to complete trunk injector kit. For administrative control is to conduct toolbox briefing, establish SOP for usability of equipment and correct handling technique, and close supervision and monitoring by person in charge. For PPE, food is full body suit, respirator, which is half mask dual cartridge, glove, safety goggles, and suitable footwear. For recommendation is workers undergo schedule, health surveillance, and workers implementing good hygiene practice. And for legislation requirement is Pesticide Act 1974, which is Act 149. Risk control table for activity transporting pesticide from preparation place to farm. For eliminating substitution and engineering control are not available. For administrative control is to conduct toolbox briefing and close supervision and monitoring by person in charge. For PPE is full body suit, respirator which is half mask dual cartridge, glove, safety goggles and suitable footwear. For recommendation is workers following safe working procedure provided, and for legislation requirement is Pesticide Act 1974 which is Act 149. Risk control table for drilling palm tree trunk with a motorized driller. For elimination, substitution and engineering control are not available. For administrative control, number 1, rotation of work shift. Number 2, conduct toolbox briefing. Number 3, establish SOP for usability of equipment and correct handling technique. And number 4 is provide training. For PPE, respirator which is N95 mask, earplug, gloves, safety goggles, safety apron, and suitable footwear. For recommendation is to reduce exposure time to loud drilling noise by working alternately with other workers.
For injecting pesticide to palm tree trunk, there is no elimination, substitution, and engineering control available. For the administrative control, what can be done is by conducting toolbox briefing, establish SOP for usability of equipment and correct handling technique, and close supervision and monitoring by person in charge. PPE control is by providing full body suit, respirator, half mask dual cartridge, glove, safety goggle, and suitable footwear. The recommendations for the activity are: workers undergo scheduled health surveillance, workers implement good hygiene practice, and reduce the exposure time by doing work alternately with another workers. And the legislation requirement is Pesticide Act 1974, Act 149. For sealing the hole with soil activity, elimination and engineering control is unavailable, while the substitution control can be done by replacing soil with wood stopper that more durable to the weather, and the administrative control is by rotation worksheet, conduct toolbox briefing, and provide training. PPE control by providing respirator, half-mask tool cartridge, glove, safety goggles, safety apron, and suitable footwear. And the recommendation for this activity are workers undergo scheduled health surveillance, workers implementing good hygiene practice and reduce the exposure time by doing work alternately with other workers. For work activity, moving from one tree to another tree, there is no elimination, substitution, and engineering controls available, while the administrative control is by conducting toolbox briefing and providing suitable footwear as PPEs. The recommendation is workers following safe working procedure provided. As a conclusion, there are few factors